Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Shodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Shodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Munatira Vanachari. Munatira Vanachari. Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jashodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana. Munatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajaka Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Adanta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Jayadvaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai. Ramanamai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guru Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kodamahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Sam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Pradijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vancha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today is the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At 22nd Avenue, after one evening lecture, Rukmini Devi asked Srila Prabhupada, how is it that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed all six opulences? Because we understand from the acharyas and shastras that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is identical with Krishna, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Shadaisharya Purna, full in six opulences. So how is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu full in six opulences? Well, Prabhupada gave a brief answer, but then the next morning in the class, Prabhupada began by answering Rukmini Devi's question. And he said that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very beautiful. He was known as Gaur Sundar. Said in those days people were after fair complexion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared with a fair complexion. And he was so learned that in his youth he was, of course, known as Nimai Pandit, and he could argue in such a way that whatever he said, no one can defeat it. And then he could defeat what he'd said in such a way that no one could establish it. He was a teacher of grammar, very expert. And you know the history, how the Keshav Kashmiri, the Digvijay, all-conquering Pandit came to Navadvip. These days we have sports competitions, but in those days there'd be competition in scholarly matters. And this Pandit from Kashmir was challenging all the Pandits, and if he would defeat them, then they'd be, what would you say, further evidence that he was the champion, that he was the all-conquering Pandit. Prabhupada didn't say all this, I'm just adding. So the Navadvip was famed as a center of learning, erudition. So, but then this Pandit is coming, so all of the Pandits of Navadvip devised a scheme that they would absent themselves on the plea of some invitation elsewhere and just leave Nimai Pandit behind. And if Nimai Pandit defeated them, then it would be glorious that even a young boy from Navadvip can defeat the great Digvijay. And if he's defeated, well, he's only a boy, so that's expected. So the two met, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the great Digvijay. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him to, if he would please compose some verses in praise of Mother Ganges, which the Pandit did, just composing them on the spot and reciting them like the wind. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, could you please explain this one verse? And he cited the verse. And Pandit was a little taken aback. How is it that you remembered that verse? No, some people have the gift for composing verses, some people have a good memory. Could you please describe the good qualities and the flaws in this verse? Well, the Pandit said it has the following good qualities. There's alliteration and there's metaphor, and he pointed out the good qualities in the verse. And there are no flaws. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed out, he analyzed the verse and he acknowledged some of the wonderful qualities of the verse. It had a very fine metaphor and so on. But he pointed out some grammatical flaws. There's alliteration in 3 lines, and 1 line you skipped it, and some minor flaws. But the killer flaw was that you've used this word Bhavani Partu. And Bhavani means of course it's a name of Durga Devi, but it means the wife of Bhava, Lord Shiva. So Bhavani, Bhartu, and Bhartu means the husband. So you've described Lord Shiva as the husband, you've described Bhavani as you've described Lord Shiva as the husband of the wife of Lord Shiva, which makes it sound as if she's got another husband. You know, like if I said the husband of the wife of Vasudeva, you'd wonder what's going on in Vasudev's family. Husband of the wife of Vasudeva. So the husband of the wife of Lord Shiva. You've made it sound like she's got another husband. And the Pandit couldn't say anything. He couldn't answer. He was struck dumb. And that night he prayed to his goddess Saraswati, the goddess of learning, by whose blessings he'd become such an erudite Pandit. You've never failed me. You've always, but now I've been defeated by this boy. Why have you abandoned me? So then Saraswati said, he's my master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What can I do? So then the next day the Pandit surrendered to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said that. Anyway, even in Kalidas's poetry there's some faults. Kalidas is a great poet and playwright. So even in Kalidas there's some flaws, so it's all right. But yes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had this opulence, learning, knowledge. He had beauty, fame. He was so popular that just by his word, the whole Navadvip could be mobilized in a protest against the edict of the Kaji, no more Sankirtan. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, no, we'll have Sankirtan, and we'll defy the Kaji's order. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so popular that just by his words, so many people gathered. So beauty, fame, knowledge. But Prabhupada said his greatest opulence, his real opulence was renunciation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chanakya Pandit says then that if you have no affectionate mother at home, and if your wife is a Priyavadini means she doesn't speak nicely, or in other words, she's like naggy or impudent in her speech, then you might as well go to the forest, because your home is no better than the forest. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had the most affectionate mother, Shachi Devi, and widowed mother, elderly mother. And his wife was the goddess of fortune. But still, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left home. Even if we have practically, if our home is miserable, still we'll stick so often. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, just like that. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that he left the small world of wife and family for the large world of Sri Krishna and humanity at large, something words to that effect. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did it. The Goswamis also, what is that? Chakvaturnam Shesha Mandalapati Shanim Sada Tuchchavat Abhutva Tina Ganeshako Kumanaya Kopina Kantasrika. The Goswamis were also Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, very highly positioned, and Raghunath Das Goswami was the only son of a multimillionaire, and he also was married to a very beautiful wife by the arrangement of his parents. But they left everything to live like beggars. Kopina Kantasrito, and just practically Hare Krishna, we've lost the microphone. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare
So many microphone dramas in our movie.
Krishna Krishna.
One time they were having a problem with microphone, and Prabhupada said, "Give me a rum drink." I go, "Wait, use the Brahmacharya to tie up the microphone
Yes.
so that it would work.
Hare Krishna. So the Goswamis were living in in poverty, volunteers, like beggars, and just wearing some torn cloth, although they come from an aristocratic background. Prabhupada mentioned that during the freedom struggle in India, one very wealthy barrister, C.R. Das, became a follower of Gandhi's movement. And he lived like that. He just gave up his fortune, went to jail and dedicated himself to Gandhi's movement. But within like a year or so, I think he died. Prabhupada mentioned. It was like,
Couldn't handle it.
that was the understanding that I got. So it's difficult if we ask people who've grown up in New York or the suburbs now, leave everything and live like beggars. It would be so difficult and miserable. But the Goswamis, Gopi Bhavara Samrita Timari Kaloma, who were living in ecstasy after leaving their aristocratic and powerful positions. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he also had everything. Sometimes we give up our material life because it's useless. Everything is going against us, so we say, I renounce, I'm just going to give it up. But what are you giving up? You're just giving up something miserable. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, devoted mother, submissive wife, beautiful wife, popularity, everything. And he gave it up to live as a sannyasi for the benefit of the people of the world, to instruct and teach the Sankirtan movement. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada also did that. So Prabhupada, in that talk, said that this was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's greatest opulence. That verse is there, Mahabharata. Sudush Tyaja, like that. And for Raja Lakshmi. A hidden reference to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Mahabharata. Describing the same thing. So, Prabhupada built his Krishna consciousness movement on the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or you can say he built the Krishna consciousness movement to distribute the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His first book published in America, if I have it right, was Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. When I came right around the time the book cover was the final proofs were coming for the book cover. In the original design, Prabhupada's name was there, then the title, and the photo. But Prabhupada adjusted it, said it's not right that my name should be above the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So you can put it below. So that became the standard for all of Prabhupada's books, that Prabhupada's name would never appear above the picture of Krishna or above the title of the book, but always below. So he said my name should appear below the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Actually, it was below the feet of the Sankirtan party. So Prabhupada, and when Prabhupada taught about Lord Chaitanya, it wasn't just sentimental. he didn't put much emphasis on stories of great miracles or things like that, although they're mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. But he gave emphasis to the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. His teachings to Rupa Goswami, teachings to Sanatana Goswami, teachings to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, to Prakashananda Saraswati, and Ramananda Roy. For most of his program, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't teach. He had kirtan for the people in general. Kirtan, prasadam, chanting, dancing. But when there was a philosopher or a suitable candidate, Prabhupada said, then he would speak philosophy. So Prakashananda Saraswati, Sarvabhauma Rupa Sanatana. And Prabhupada selected those particular instances. Of course, there are more, but those particular instances for his book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Then later he gave us Chaitanya Charitamrita. That story is well known, how he was ahead in his translation and we were behind in book production. But so Prabhupada at one point translated within like a year and a half, I think it was, the whole teachings of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he mentions in the closing remarks that it was the favorite book of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Chaitanya Charitamrita. On the journey to America also, Prabhupada said that his solace was Chaitanya Charitamrita, the nectar of Chaitanya Charitamrita. In Chaitanya Charitamrita we find Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, his leelas, and his, especially his teachings. And that's for our benefit. There's so many theological ideas, different, theological ideas. But the teachings of Lord Chaitanya present the highest theological conception. And it was elaborated especially by, of course, elaborated in different ways by Rupa Goswami in terms of the loving exchanges between Krishna and his devotees. Prabhupada said there were 6 Goswamis. Sanatana Goswami is the eldest, but Rupa Goswami is regarded as the chief because he was the most expert in relishing the nectar. So Rupa Goswami expands the teachings of Lord Chaitanya in that way. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't write very much. Yes, we don't have a book of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just a few verses. But Rupa Goswami expands the teachings of Lord Chaitanya through his writings. Sanatana Goswami also, Brihad Bhagavatamrita and other books. And Jiva Goswami, Prabhupada said Jiva Goswami was the greatest philosopher. So he very strongly, of course all of the Goswamis, Saddharma Samstapaka, they established Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings on the basis of Shastra, Nana Shastra Vicharane Kirtana, Saddharma Samstapaka. So but Jiva Goswami especially writes his theological, philosophical treatises, Shat-Shandharma. And of course, many devotees have written about the life and teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada at one point said, we have so much Chaitanya literature. This literature can be translated. Chaitanya, at that time Chaitanya Charitamrita wasn't yet out. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Bhagavat. Said so much Chaitanya literature we have. He had the idea that because, there. So today is the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We can remember his life, remember his teachings. And Karuna Avatar will come up. It's not just some interesting philosophy and some relishable pastimes, but out of mercy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, Patita Pavane, to Avatar, to uplift the fallen souls of Kali Yuga, Dina Hini Atachila, Harinami Tavila. In Kali Yuga, Manda Sumanda Mateo Manda Bhagya, Upajuta, people are dull, Manda, and Sumanda Mateo, cheated by so many bogus teachers, Sumanda Mateo, whether they're gurus or scientists or parents or whatever, Sumanda Mateo, misled, and Mandabhagya, therefore very unfortunate. Empty, useless, miserable, humbug civilization that has no idea about the goal of life. Just let us enjoy, let us enjoy, let us enjoy. Let us advance in comfort and enjoyment. Let us develop new this and new that. Let us defeat all the enemies of our enjoyment. They hate our, They hate our freedom. So we're going to spend a lot of money to fight with them so that we can enjoy. And Upajuta, everyone practically in Kali Yuga is agitated, disturbed, not peaceful, depressed. Busy in exploitation and just bad way of life. But so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to uplift the people of Kali Yuga. Deen Hini Atachila Harinami Undavila. Prabhupada said back then there was one Jagai Madhai, now everywhere Jagai Madhai. So Prabhupada's brought these teachings of Lord Chaitanya, the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya, the way of life taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we can take advantage and spread it also, following the line. One time there was an initiation at 61 2nd Avenue. We'd moved from 26 up the block to 61. But Prabhupada still had his apartment at 26. So there was a big initiation ceremony at 61 2nd Avenue. Prabhupada initiated many disciples. Devotees came from different centers. And afterwards, Prabhupada walked back to his apartment, and the devotees were gathering around him, still chanting and dancing. The pictures there, and at least one printing of that Hare Krishna mantra pamphlet on chanting Hare Krishna. You see all the devotees surrounding Prabhupada and sort of floating off the ground while they're on the street, 2nd Avenue. And Prabhupada didn't say anything, but just walking. And then Prabhupada said, we have increased the Sankirtan movement from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have increased the Sankirtan movement and we have increased the disciplic succession from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in this way we should increase the Sankirtan movement. That will be pleasing to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the followers of Chaitanya also. All right, some questions, comments, thoughts? Yeah.
We Hare Krishna. We give it to him.
It's got online. You can speak in the microphone.
We picture Srila Prabhupada. It's not on.
Adi doesn't need a microphone, he's transcendental to microphones.
All right. Hare Krishna. We picture Srila Prabhupada arriving on the east coast of the continent, right? Little tiny elderly gentleman. I'm just an insignificant beggar, right? And he's confronting an entire civilization. It says that what the message of Bhagavatam is meant to bring about a revolution in the impious lives of this world misdirected civilization, right? And he's confronting an entire civilization with this idea of the civilization stampeding toward indulgence, like you were saying, acquiring things and enjoying and achieving material status. And yet the teachings of Lord Chaitanya exhibit a whole other path, and a happiness and a satisfaction in a simple life dedicated in loving service to Krishna. It's amazing that he would stand up to that civilization and endeavor, by Krishna's grace, to turn it around.
Yeah, he didn't compromise. In his first audience, as you know, was the hippies on the Lower East Side. And Prabhupada's teaching, no intoxicants, no illicit sex. We don't care what you think. This is it. Prabhupada said he thought when he'd come to America that they'd hear these 4 rules and they'd say, now you go home. He said, but I knew I wasn't going to compromise. That was Prabhupada's policy. He just put it out there as it was. And if you didn't want to buy it, that's all right. But you're not going to sell something cheaper. Prabhupada said that if you're selling diamonds, you may have very few customers. Like one of the Van Cleef in our palace on Fifth Avenue. And they don't have, they're not like the Apple store where thousands of people crowd in to, expensive. But you get diamonds. You don't get the cheap stuff. So there may be fewer customers, but they'll get the most valuable thing. And that was Prabhupada's policy, selling diamonds.
And the devotee said, Prabhupada, don't tell them that. No illicit sex, no intoxication, no eating. Don't tell them that. That's not what, that's how they live. That's what they want. And you won't get any followers. And Prabhupada said, purity is the force. We're speaking the truth. We're bringing light into a place of darkness.
Prabhupada said a little bit of a pure thing is worth heaps of adulterated things.
Yeah.
Worth more than heaps of adulterated things. You had a question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. We often hear in the scriptures that even personalities like Lord Shiva, Lord.
I'm half deaf, so you have to speak a little loud. If you would.
We often hear from the scriptures that even personalities like Lord Shiva got influenced by the modes of this material nature in an attempt to assist the Lord in the pastimes. And we see, when we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya's life is all about simplicity, surrender, and the specific prayer we chant every day in the morning, Nadhanam, Najanam, Nasundaram. Now, as we move ahead in the 21st century, and specifically as a brahmachari in the 21st century, most of our practices or the whole preaching is about where we have to raise funds, we have to create followers, you have to have a social media presence and so on. So it goes so much against the basic tenets, and it also adds a lot of burden on oneself. Specifically, I'm speaking about me. When I had joined earlier, the time was not such. Now it is expected by the people in general, by the movement, by the temples, etc., that we need to do these things to survive, kind of thing.
Well, it's not that the brahmacharis need to do everything to survive. There may be a need for, what would you say, a lot of interactions with family people and, getting into their life and guiding young ladies in on their spiritual path, and there's all of these things are required, but it doesn't mean the brahmacharis have to do it. It's not that the ladies will all go away and wilt and die if the brahmacharis don't preach to them. So we have a duty, and our hearts have to. No. It's not the business of the brahmacharis that they have to do all of these things because it's required. It's required, but it may not be required for the brahmacharis. Social media, if you mean, that I have a social media presence and then I'm busy chit-chatting with everyone who wants to say hello on Facebook and poke me or whatever people do there. It's not that we have to do that. Some may do that. Some may excel at that. But it's not that, unless I can be really smooth on social media, unless I can give the kind of talk that would fly at the corporate offices of Google and Microsoft, unless I can tell a lot of really good jokes that'll warm people up and get them going. If I can't do all those things, well, what's the use of being a brahmachari? No. Brahmacharis are simple. And they may know how to do some things, and they may do what's needful, but they don't have to make their lives super complicated because that's what you have to do, and that's what people expect, and so on. No. Brahmacharis are meant to be foot soldiers, simple people. And chant Hare Krishna, speak philosophy, Krishna consciousness. And simple thing, as Prabhupada did. Prabhupada didn't do a lot of fancy things to bring people to Krishna consciousness. He didn't hire a brass band for his kirtan and what have you. It didn't compromise on his teachings. He didn't make a show of being, like there were the uptown Swamis who were really, full of love and they'll give you a big hug and all of that kind of stuff. No, Prabhupada didn't do that. And parlors with ladies, adoring ladies, and Swamis are all, what's the word? Pleasing them. No. Prabhupada was serious. He said a Swami should be serious. They took a picture of, they asked Prabhupada what picture he should use or something. They're choosing pictures. There was one picture and Prabhupada said, it wasn't a smiley picture. Prabhupada said Swami should be serious. Because he has some weighty message to deliver. So it's not that the brahmacharis have to cut some sort of expected social profile. They have their duty and they can do that. Then the brahmacharis become unconventional. they're expected to do this, and this. Unconventionally, they just chant Hare Krishna and keep Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Great class, and when you were speaking about Nimai, the young Nimai who defeated the Kashmiri, I was thinking from the Bhagavad Gita where it says that all good qualities actually come from Krishna.
Mm.
And I've never thought of you like this, but you got that Nimai. You defeat a lot of people.
I got the neem part. Neem is a tree that has a very bitter taste to its leaves. So that part. Otherwise, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was in another. He could speak so sweetly that Keshav Kashmiri, oh, that's all right. I just got the neem part. That's all.
Well, I appreciate that. But I wanted to ask you a question about in one sense, the difference. I know you've written a book on this about kirtan, but what is the significant difference in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kirtan? Can you speak a little bit on that as we go into our festival today? Will be basically Thursday night kirtan. We're going to go on Harinam at 5 o'clock. And is there something that is significant about his kirtan versus the other kirtan?
Well, first of all, his kirtan was Krishna kirtan. Paramdi Jayadvaita Shri Krishna Sankirtan. Not Kali kirtan or Durga kirtan or Ganesh kirtan or Shiva kirtan. Krishna kirtan. That's the first thing. Not that we compromise and we do Shiva kirtan. They're Bhagavad reciters and kirtaniyas. Tuesday it's like we'll speak about Bhagavatam, and Thursday we'll speak about something else, Devi or Ganesh, according to what the audience will like. Something that will please the audience. So we'll speak about that. Or we'll do Krishna kirtan, but we'll also do Shiva kirtan. We'll also do Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Krishna kirtan. So that was the first, what would you say, distinguishing characteristic. And his kirtan is sometimes called Prem Sankirtan. It wasn't ritualistic chanting. They chanting stotras and so on. But chanting in ecstatic love for Krishna. Spontaneous kirtan, chanting, dancing, and expressing love for Krishna or begging for love for Krishna. It wasn't a performance, it wasn't a ritualistic activity, but it was a heartfelt call, like Prabhupada said, like a child crying for the mother. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we hear about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the Rath Yatra festival. He wasn't just chanting Hare Krishna as a matter of duty or convention, but he was feeling the deepest feelings of separation from Krishna, the mood of Srimati Radharani. That feeling of separation, Prabhupada said, nourishes love for Krishna to the highest extent. So when we go into, we just see that, oh yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was he led a movement of unabandoned singing and dancing in praise of the God Krishna. But when you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you see the depth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's chanting. Of course, the philosophical justification is given, but then a deep understanding of the feelings that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had while chanting and dancing before the form of Lord Jagannath. So the Hare Krishna, so that was the specific, these were specific qualities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kirtan. It was exuberant. We hear about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu whirling like a firebrand, practically. So that was there. But the special thing is the feeling of love for Krishna. And also, well, there's so many things. Everyone can join. It's not just for the Brahmins. Haridas Thakur becomes the Namacharya, and everyone can take part. Everyone is meant to take part in the Krishna Kirtan, from the rankest neophyte to the most exalted Brahmans. Everyone can chant Hare Krishna. And that, so in that spirit, something very open. The Brahmins were complaining, he's waking up our gods, the idols are sleeping, and he's making a racket, and he's Prakashananda Saraswati singing and dancing like a sentimentalist with common people instead of performing the proper duties of a sannyasi studying Vedanta and so on. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, this is, anyway, first of course he defeated him in discussion of Vedanta, but then he said, then all right, but why this singing and dancing? And my Guru Maharaj told me that you're not good for Vedanta study, you just chant Hare Krishna. And then by chanting I became like a madman. So I went to my Guru Maharaj, what is this? I think I've gone crazy by chanting this mantra. And then the spiritual master was pleased, yes, Ishwar Puri, these are the signs of love for Krishna. So that's our goal. It's not money, it's not fame, it's not something like that. But our interest is love for Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's interest. Yeah. Yes.
You okay for another question, Raj?
Yeah.
Thank you for a very wonderful class. And I'm just wondering, you mentioned that one of the chief opulences of Sri Chaitanya is his renunciation. And I understood that in general, as Gaudiyas, we worship Lord Chaitanya specifically in the mood of his Navadvip pastimes and Grihastha ashram, not so much in the sannyas ashram.
Why not? We don't worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's like Krishna. We worship Krishna in every aspect of his pastimes.
But usually our deities are him with hair, not in sannyas garb. And
deity maybe. But we're, not that we worship Chaitanya, like the, Pushti Marg, they worship Krishna just when he's a child, and then when he grows up, we sort of leave that aside. No. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu we worship as a householder, we worship as a sannyasi. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Adi Lila, that's the whole Grihastha, from childhood through Grihastha life. And then, the bulk of the book is Madhya and Antya, his activities as a sannyasi. So it's not so that we just worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Grihastha.
there was a question online.
Somebody else?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's an online question.
Okay. Hare Krishna. This is from online audience member Jeffrey Ackler. Since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a peaceful revolutionary opposing the Mughal rule and suppression of Vedic culture, I am surprised that Gandhi did not often invoke his memory.
That who didn't? Oh, Gandhi didn't?
Gandhi. is there any record of Gandhi doing so? And if not, why not?
Is there any record of Gandhiji mentioning Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Not that I know of. I don't really know why. Of course, he comes from Gujarat, the opposite side of the country. That's one of the things. And also, we can say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not so well known. Some Neo-Vedantists were well known, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's importance was not well recognized at the time of Gandhiji. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was getting started doing something. He started some monasteries, mostly in East India, in Bangladesh, and in Bengal, and Tripura, but nothing in Gujarat, and generally wasn't so well known. But now the President of India, several presidents of India and prime ministers of India have spoken about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everybody's, even in the West, Indian religion meant Advaita Vedanta, and that was the only subject matter really, as far as they knew. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was hardly mentioned. Maybe in some encyclopedia there'd be one line about Chaitanya and his existence. Now it's sort of like you go to the meetings of Indian scholars, it's hugely about Gaudiya Vaishnavism. There's so many scholars that in Prabhupada's time there were like two, one or two scholars who were really familiar with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now it's like everybody, there's so many scholars who are talking about different aspects of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, specializing in some of them being initiated even in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can't see any article about Hinduism that leaves out Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it was a question of time. Pritiviti Atache Nagaradigram. That hadn't yet happened, but now it's practically everywhere. Prabhupada's fulfillment of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction and desire. Are they going to be on time? No, they're already 2 minutes late.
Yes, I think we'll.
I just work here. I don't even work here, I'm just invited.
Thank you very much, Marge, for coming and being with us on Gaur Purnima morning. It really makes a huge difference, your presence. And also thank you to everyone for coming. We had so many devotees also online.